You know, it's pretty wild how one single tweet can just explode into a massive global debate. Today, we're going to connect the dots between a very public family drama, a huge legal battle, and what's become one of the most fundamental social questions of our time. So let's get right into it.
And it all kicked off with this. December 13th, 2025. This post from one of the world's most visible figures drops. And, well, the reaction was instant. And it was intense.
And just like that, the internet split right down the middle. On one side, you had supporters praising it as just, common sense biology. One person wrote, "It's remarkable that the obvious has to be stated." But on the other side, critics immediately called the definition simplistic and exclusionary. They pointed to things like MRK syndrome, a condition where women are born without a uterus, as proof that, hey, this is way more complicated than a single sentence.
Now, to really understand the gravity behind these public statements, we have to pull back the curtain a little bit. We need to look beyond the online noise and into a really personal family story that was happening this whole time.
And at the absolute heart of this whole thing is Vivian Jenna Wilson, Elon Musk's 20-year-old daughter. Her own journey and her fractured relationship with her father are really central to this entire story.
So let's just trace her path for a second. Vivian came out as transgender back in 2020. Then, in 2022, she made a huge move. She legally changed her name and gender. And in that court filing, she included this incredibly powerful statement, saying she no longer wished to be related to her biological father in any way, shape, or form. After that, her public profile really started to grow. She landed a Teen Vogue cover and even made her debut at New York Fashion Week.
And look, she has not minced words about their relationship. In that Teen Vogue interview, she described her father like this, in these really blunt terms. It just highlights how deep that rift between them really is.
So what you have are two completely different stories for why they're estranged. From Musk's side, he blames what he calls neo-Marxist influences from her university and this idea of a woke mind virus. But from Vivian's perspective, it's a very different story. She describes an absent father who was cruel to her about her identity, and she makes it a point to say she's been financially on her own since 2020.
Okay, so this whole battle, it's not just playing out on social media or within one family, it's actually being put to the test in courtrooms all over the world. So let's shift gears and head over to Australia, where a legal case put these exact definitions on trial.
Right, so in Australia, this case, Tickle versus Giggle, became a massive legal battleground. And what was it about? It was about literally putting the definition of the word woman on trial.
Now, before we dive into the case, there's a key term you gotta know: TERF. It stands for Trans Exclusionary Radical Feminist. Sal Grover, the founder of the app at the center of all this, actually self-identifies with this term, and that's pretty crucial for understanding her side of the argument.
So here's how it all went down. First, Sal Grover creates this app Giggle, and she specifies it's for cisgender women. Then, a transgender woman named Roxanne Tickle tries to join, gets denied, and files a complaint. This whole thing escalates all the way to Australia's federal court. And the final verdict? The court found that yes, Tickle had been indirectly discriminated against.
Let's break down the court's thinking here. On one side, Grover's legal team argued that sex is a fixed, biological thing. But the court came back and said, well, that actually conflicts with over 30 years of legal precedent in Australia. Grover also argued that Giggle was a special measure for women's safety, but the court ruled that even those kinds of special measures can't be used to discriminate based on gender identity.
And the arguments that were made in that courtroom, they plug right into a much, much bigger and, let's be honest, often more intense debate that's happening everywhere right now: the fight over single-sex spaces.
To get a handle on this, we're going to look at something really interesting: written evidence that was submitted directly to the UK Parliament. This document makes a powerful case for why there should be clearer, stronger legal protections for female-only places like bathrooms and changing rooms.
And this quote right here, it pretty much sums up the entire argument. It's framing female-only spaces not as some kind of special privilege, but as a long-standing and reasonable expectation that women have for their privacy and their safety.
So the submission lays out a few key points. First, it says that the current laws are just being misunderstood, and that's chipping away at female privacy. The argument is that organizations wrongly think that just because someone self-identifies as a woman, they get automatic access everywhere. This, the author says, creates situations where women and girls feel unsafe. So the bottom line is a call for much clearer guidance to reinforce the idea that excluding biological males from these spaces is legal.
So after all that, the tweet, the family drama, the legal precedents, the policy debates, where does this all leave us? What's the takeaway?
I mean, it's pretty incredible, isn't it? How one tweet that seems so simple on the surface can just pull back the curtain on this massive, tangled web of incredibly complex issues. We've gone from a family's very private pain playing out in the public eye, all the way to landmark legal battles that are literally reshaping how we think about rights and identity.
And that really leaves us with a huge challenge. As this conversation keeps evolving, how can we, as a society, figure out a way to navigate these things? When one person's right to their identity seems to conflict with another person's right to a single-sex space, what do we do? There's no easy answer here. And it's a question that's going to keep shaping our laws and our culture for a long time to come.